Please always consult with your physicians prior to making any changes to your treatment plan. Welcome to Living with Scanxiety, the Cancer Podcast, a podcast geared to help you navigate the pediatric cancer world. As a mother of a child who battled a soft tissue sarcoma for over a year, your host, Rosaria Kozar, understands and will help guide you through your journey. She brings the knowledge of experts, families, survivors, and other organizations tied to the pediatric cancer world to your doorstep. Her mission is to inform, support, and promote hope for you and your family.
I'm a very big believer that cancer is not over when you ring the bell or finish treatment. I think cancer is really lifelong.
Hi, this is Rosaria, and I am here today with warrior Meg Gallagher, who is also the founder of Megs Give Back. It is a nonprofit, and she is studying currently digital marketing and nonprofit management. Today, we're going to talk to her not only about her story, but things that are very close to her. For example, side effects, after effects, and also the feelings and struggles that go along after treatment ends, because cancer, once it's actually never over. So welcome, Meg, to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. I'm so happy that you were able to come on. And do you want to share your story?
Yeah, of course. So I was diagnosed December 23rd, 2015, when I was 13 years old with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, type B cell high risk. Obviously, it was 2 days before Christmas, and some of my symptoms were bleeding gums, fatigue, passing out, and bruises and bleeding on my body. We were on vacation on the Oregon coast, so we were visiting family, and it was winter break too. And my mom started to notice some just different symptoms in me, so she called my doctor, and my doctor sent us to get a blood test. So we went to this blood test center in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and they were actually closing down this next day, like forever. So it was like the last day possible that we could have done that. And so we did that. He did both arms, and we got a call back like a few hours later, and was told to go straight to the nearest emergency room. My mom was like, "Can I take a shower?" They're like, "No, you have to go immediately." And so we went to an ER that was also in the middle of nowhere, and the doctor there had kind of mentioned the word leukemia when they were checking me out, but I was 13 and really had never heard that and had no idea what that meant. So I was kind of like, "Oh, I'm just in the ER, it's fine." But then they decided to transfer me in an ambulance to Portland, Oregon, to Dornbecker Children's Hospital. And I remember arriving there and getting to the ER. They had like a cute little gingerbread house contest going on because it was close to Christmas. And I remember exactly which gingerbread house I voted for. It was a little minion house, like from Despicable Me. And I was sent to a room. They took my mom out of the room and talked to her. And I was just sitting in the room, very fascinated with the TV. They had the coolest TV there. It was kind of funny how fascinated I was. They had like so many movies to choose from and TV shows. And it was kind of like Netflix, but like with the TV. Then a lady came in and was like, "Have you ever had an IV before?" And I said no. I had like no surgery, no IVs, nothing really medical going on before all of this. So I was very new to this. And she kind of showed me how it would work. And I got my first IV, and I was sent up to the hospital floor, which is the oncology floor. And I remember seeing kids that were bald and stuff, and kind of thinking like, "Oh, what's going on? Like these kids look like they have cancer, but I don't think I have cancer." But then I was told later that night, and I started getting a blood transfusion because my blood levels were really low. And they talked about starting chemo the next day. And I started freaking out because I thought that my hair was going to fall out overnight, because I was so young and I associated cancer with your hair falling out and not chemo or the medicine. And so we also called a few people just kind of to tell them what was going on. It was a very late night, and we woke up the next morning and they started chemo. I think before they even did the bone marrow biopsy. And so they did the bone marrow biopsy the next day, and they confirmed what kind of cancer I had. And then I had to stay in Oregon for a month.
Oh, wow.
You know,
So you didn't go home.
yeah, I didn't go home because I had to be there for the first phase of treatment induction. And there was a wonderful Ronald McDonald house that was there. It was actually inside of a Marriott, I think, hotel. So it was already a nice hotel. So it's just, basically they took one floor out of the hotel and made it the Ronald McDonald house. So there was like nice cleaning service. There was complimentary breakfast downstairs. It was just like kind of a really cool how that worked out. Obviously the situation wasn't fun, but it was just nice to be able to have that. I came home a month later. Actually, before I say that, towards the end of my stay there, I had a PICC line in my arm, which is what they gave my chemo through. I developed a severe blood clot in my right arm.
Oh, no.
So I went into the ER in the middle of the night and was admitted, and they actually sent me home. They took the PICC line out, and then they sent me home thinking that blood clot would just maybe get better. I had to go on the plane, got home that night. I remember sitting down, my parents looking down at my arm. It was huge. They're like, okay, back to the hospital. So I was home for maybe like 3 hours before I went back to the hospital. And this was also when the 2016 like huge snowstorm in Virginia came. I think we got like maybe like 20 inches or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it was this huge snowstorm that was coming. We got to the hospital. I was there for like a month, and they had to do a surgery to remove the blood clot. It was probably top of the list, the most pain I've been in. I couldn't even keep my arm on like my leg, or I always had to have it elevated. Even when I was using the bathroom, I had to have a pillow on my lap.
That's so hard.
Yeah, and my dad had to help me shower, which is always interesting. But he was there for most of the stay because my mom was with me in Oregon the whole month, so they kind of switched off. But then it got to be too much for my dad, so my mom came back. Yeah, and then it was around March. The next time something happened, it was on my birthday. I was admitted to the hospital with a fever because you have to go to the hospital ER with a port when you have a fever just to make sure there's no signs of infection. And I was there for like a week. I got to come home, and then a month later, I was admitted again and had a fungal meningitis infection in my brain. That was a month-long stay in the PICU. That was also associated with cellulitis. They think that I had on my stomach. I think it kind of went together.
Wow, you were put through the ringer.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my
Kind of
gosh.
crazy. Yeah, it was really, really tough. And then a month later, I was back again in the PICU for another month with pancreatitis and just a bunch of other complications going on, and hallucinating really badly, like severe hallucinations to the point where it felt so real. And nighttime ones were really like scary, like the machines were coming alive trying to kill me. And then the daytime ones were like, oh, there's a fun puppet show that I honestly to this day think shouldn't be a real thing the way they did it in my hallucination. But we resolved that. It was actually the Ativan that was giving it to me. So they had me on IV Ativan, or the other name for it is lorazepam, if people don't know. So that kind of resolved itself. All those
They
crazy
put you on Ativan to get rid of the hallucinations, or Ativan was
Ativan was
positive?
for nausea. So
Yeah.
yeah, tend to use that for nausea a lot. I still use it today for anxiety, so but a way smaller dose.
Mhm.
But those kind of resolved itself. And then I kind of was able to go into maintenance, which is the phase that everyone wants to get into because it's kind of easier. Not that anyone wants to do any of this, but and I was on high dose steroids. I gained 50 pounds within a matter of months. I then developed steroid induced diabetes, which I had for 2 years. So I had to give myself insulin, check my blood sugars, see the endocrinologist, all the things. And then in September of 2017, I had appendicitis and had to have my appendix taken out. And I finished treatment in May 16th, 2018, so 3.5 years ago. And then I suffered from late effects, GI issues mostly. I had bleeding ulcers, gastritis many times. I had a gallbladder attack and had to have my gallbladder taken out. I had sorry, I can't speak. I had a lot of testing done. I've had a lot of testing done the last 2 or 3 years just to figure out exactly what's going on. Because even after the gallbladder, that was 2019, the summer of 2019 that I had that taken out. The problems weren't resolving themselves, so I was still having lots of throwing up, vomiting, nausea, pain, and I had to have a gastric emptying test where I ate a hard-boiled egg, which I actually do not like hard-boiled eggs, so that was really hard for me to do.
Oh no.
And they kind of put me between these two like x-ray machines, kind of, and they watched like with the radioactive waves kind of how the egg emptied out of my stomach. And so they figured I had some emptying problems. And then a few months later, I had a test. I have no idea what the name is called. It's this really long name, but it basically consisted of a tube camera being put down my nose into my esophagus and monitoring my stomach and the way it worked for 24 hours, admitted in the hospital. And then I was diagnosed with delayed gastric emptying and GERD. So that is my official diagnosis for GI issues today. I'm not currently on any medication because the medication I was using was not working, and I actually was just hospitalized end of November into December. And so I'm not on any medication for that except for like reflux, acid reflux medicine. And I'm doing okay. I just have to eat really small meals and be careful not to overeat because then I will throw up. So that's kind of my whole medical history and cancer story. It's not short, it's very long and full, but that is it in as best as I can tell it.
Thank you for being so open and honest. That is one heck of a ride. And you're still on it. Yeah, you're an advocate for late effects as well, right?
Yeah.
You're an activist, yeah, for late effects. So tell me what you do for that.
I'm a very big believer that cancer is not over when you ring the bell or finish treatment. I think cancer is really lifelong. The late effects, the PTSD, the anxiety, the depression. I'm actually just finishing up a research project for school and a research paper, and I did it all on the funding for childhood cancer and kind of the effects of childhood cancer and why we do need more funding, especially here in Virginia. And some things I was reading about is children and youth childhood cancer survivors really deal with anxiety and depression and suicidal thoughts just from the emotional toll that cancer does take on them. And yeah, I'm a big believer in just that this is for life and there will be health problems. There'll be things that you have to deal with emotionally. I actually just had to do a neuropsych test a year ago that they do for childhood cancer survivors regularly just to make sure there's no cognitive delay. And I found out that I have some executive functioning issues and some short-term memory issues. and just not being able to remember stuff like certain words, but I'm better at remembering stuff with a story around it. So I really just talked to my doctor recently, just because I have been having this problem where I can't remember things short term, and it's just so frustrating. And she's like, yeah, that's definitely a side effect from the chemo and the cancer. So I'm like, great, another thing to add to the list. And I do also deal with, we haven't really explored this a lot, but I have bleeding capillaries in my kidneys. So I always have a trace of blood in my urine. So,
No.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's very difficult to deal with. I can only imagine that, I think they call it chemo brain. Is that right? Where you have the difficulty with memory.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions for another AYA patient listening to this that had to overcome any of these things?
I would just say take it day by day. That's my best advice, because if you're looking long term and what your life's going to be like or what you're going to have to deal with, that's not helpful. I start to think about the future and what's going to happen in the future if like I'll have other health issues and stuff. I think just taking it day by day and talking to your doctors and getting a therapist to cope with everything that you've been through and still go through is really helpful as well.
Okay, so are you suggesting that parents seek out a therapist for their
Did you?
child as well?
Yeah.
Okay. And how else would you, if you could talk to the parents directly that are listening, what would you say to them right now to make what you went through easier?
I'd say, can you repeat that actually?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So you went through so much, but how could the parents that are listening, what would you tell them to do for their child to make it easier on them?
Yeah, I would just say hold your child, snuggle your child if they want to be snuggled, be there for your kid, show up for your kid. My mom, something she did a lot was go down to the Target and get me crafts or things to do. And it's not about spending money, it's just about being there for your child and holding their hand, walking with them every step of the way. And I don't know, just life is short. And the fact that your child's already going through cancer, you don't know what the outcome could be. Be there for your child. And um, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what really helped you out, having parents that were there for you.
I had the most supportive parents throughout everything. My parents would rotate who would stay over the night at the hospital, and they would bring me treats and crafts and toys and things to do. Not really toys because I was 14, but like I loved the little blind bag surprises. I don't know, I think it interested me to have like a surprise going through all of that and something fun to have. So
Absolutely. And that kind of rub off onto the community, the found Megs Give Back. Does it
yeah,
kind of rub off onto that
1,000.
nonprofit? Yeah.
Yeah, 1,000%. I always say, I always take what I love to have to entertain myself and put that towards Meg's Give Back and do a lot of crafts and stuff like that I enjoyed. And it especially helps when we're looking for stuff for teenagers, because I was a teenager and I feel like teenagers don't get a lot donated to them just because people are more focused on the little cute kids. So that's also been really helpful for Meg's Give Back, is knowing what I liked and what was entertaining for me. And so I put that towards that.
So would you consider yourself a nonprofit of all ages, or do you concentrate on the AYA community?
I'd say all ages. Really, we've done it for everyone. teenagers, young adults, little kids, babies, toddlers, everybody.
Everybody. Awesome. That's fantastic. And so, Meg, before we even sat down and started talking, we had mentioned friendships and there was a certain dynamic to them. Do you want to discuss what you meant by that?
Yeah. So a long time ago, I was watching a show. One of my favorite shows, Parenthood, and I won't spoil this part of the show, but there was a character that was diagnosed with cancer, and she met up with a friend, and the friend was basically like, "Here's what's going to happen. So you're going to be diagnosed with cancer. People are going to start to surround you, rally around you, love you, support you, and then you'll start to get better, and people will slowly start to go back to their daily lives. And that's when you know who your true people are." And that had been something that I had in my head for a while, but didn't really know how to articulate it. And to hear someone say that out loud, so perfectly worded, was just like a really mind-blowing moment for me. And I remember just like turning the show off and talking to my mom and being like, wow, you'll never believe what they just said. And so one thing that people always say, like, what do you wish someone had told you when you were first diagnosed with cancer? Like, what do you wish you had known? And the big thing that I always say is that I wish I had known how much support you were gonna get, but then when it was over, how that was gonna leave, and even people. We have a friend that we made that lives near us, that was just diagnosed over the summer, and it was really helpful for us to be able to help them in the beginning of their diagnosis. And I remember going over to the mom and just being like, I don't want to sound too harsh, but I wish someone had told me this at the beginning. And I kind of told her the quote that I said, and she's like, yeah, that's already happening to us. There's people that we thought would be there for us that aren't. And I've talked to countless people about this same situation, and they're like, yeah, family members weren't here for us. Good friends, best friends left. And so I had a big support system. Like, we had hashtag #team_Meg was my hashtag. And so I had Team Meg. That was my thing. And I had all these people, neighbors, friends, family around the country that were just there to support me, and people would bring us meals and stuff like that. And then I got better. There was even at the end of chemo party, there was people I noticed that were there kind of weren't there for the right reasons. And ever since, it's been like they're like not really want anything to do with us, and kind of has their own life. And it kind of made me feel sad. It's like, just because I'm finishing chemo and I'm not dying or not sick anymore, then you're like, bye. But yeah, I've dealt with people my age even not being able to handle a lot of isn't even cancer related, but I have really bad anxiety and stuff, and so I've lost quite a few friends my age, and really deal with not really having many friends who live near here. I think I don't even know if I would count one friend on my finger that lives near me. Really, the people that I consider good friends, live in different states. One of them used to live in my neighborhood, but doesn't anymore. One of them lives somewhere else. One of them I met at a family camp. But like, really, I'm kind of struggling in that right now. Something I'm really also struggling with is being a child of cancer survivor, and the friends that I do have not being able to relate to that, not being able to understand it. And if I want to talk about something, it's kind of like they get quiet, or they're not able to handle it because it is such a heavy topic. So I am kind of in this point in my life where I'm searching for like a survivor or someone to talk to that is my age. And I am part of a child of cancer survivor Facebook group and have connected with a few people, but really I'd love someone who lives near here and that we can just connect. And I also like thought about looking into a childhood cancer survivor support group that's like on Zoom or in person or something like that. You know, at this time, everything on Zoom. But
And
yeah.
so tell me what your Instagram handle is, so people, and where you live, so people can not specifically where you live, but where you live, so that people can reach out to you on your Instagram.
Yeah, of course. So my foundation is at Megs Give Back. It's MEGSGIVEBACK. There's an email also. It's just megsgiveback@gmail.com. You can reach out to. I also have my own Instagram that is public, that I work with the Truth 365 social media campaign and do writing posts for them, which is just Meg Gallagher _. So it's MEGGALLAGHER _. Very small there because I just started it, but I'd hope that people would follow along the writing posts that I do for Truth 365 and the other advocacy work I do. But Meg's Give Back is probably a better place to follow because I'm much more active on it. Yeah.
That sounds awesome that you're going to be setting that up and extend that part of the community, because I'm sure there are a lot of other people that want to be able to connect and identify with everybody in the room.
Yeah.
And even as a parent, I know that being in a room full of other parents that have lost a child or just had a child with cancer, it's something you just go in, you can automatically have that connection. And you don't even necessarily have to talk about it, but you can talk about it and it's not uncomfortable. So it's one of those unique aspects to being in the cancer community. And I'm sure there are other communities as well that have the same type of, I don't know if it's camaraderie, but same type of way of connecting.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. And the childhood cancer community on Instagram is like nothing like I've ever seen before. Like, it's the sense of community and how people can connect with each other from all around the world and just follow each other's stories and get advice from each other. There's lots of blog pages that moms have made of their kids and just sharing their story and getting out the word that our kids are worth more than 4% of the federal cancer research budget. And our kids are worth more than that. So we need to save our kids and do something about it fast.
Yeah, it allows for a lot of people to amass in activism and advocates coming together and people drawing awareness. It's so important. So before we kind of close out here with the ending, which is this like little fun game, have to end on a positive note. We always do. And so I ask you some silly questions, just answer as quick as you can what comes to your mind. And ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. If you could read minds or tell the future, what would you do?
Read minds.
If you had to pick one song that represents your life right now, what would it be?
I don't know. Hold on to me, I think, by Lauren Daigle it's called.
Oh, cool. And we'll leave it at that. I think you did such a great job. And I want to just take a second to say thank you again. And I hope to be in touch soon.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you for tuning in to Living with Scanxiety. Please subscribe to hear more informative discussions like today's.